Hey guys, welcome back. This is part 2 of the mounted Radagast tutorial. Hopefully you got to the stage now where you've got Radagast sat on the horse. So now we're just going to add in some fine details like reins and reposing the horse a little bit. Yeah, just little things to enhance the model. Okay, enjoy. Okay, so we've got our basic Radagast on horse, and now we're going to add some strapping or a method of controlling the horse. Now usually you would have a strip of leather on any rider really. And I'll show you how I would do that normally. So I've just got a long strip of green stuff here, which I've pre-rolled out. Okay, just going to need to cut a little bit off. Alright, now there's two ways to do this, and that depends on where it sits on the horse. Okay, so if it's in contact with the horse itself, yeah, then I'll put the tubular green stuff, or well, not tubular, cylindrical I suppose, over the top, and then what you do is you flatten it out while it's on the model. Okay, and that gives it that flat strip. This is on a normal horse. I would do this on. Okay, I'm going to take this off in a minute. This is just to show you how I would do it normally. And then you can just even up, make sure it's the same thickness all the way around. Oh, how's that? That's better. Yeah, so if it is just poking out a little bit more than on one side than the other, you can just gently tease it on either side. Okay, so you get that nice flat strip all the way around. And you can do that on any part of the horse where it's actually touching the model. Come on camera, focus in, there we go. If however the strapping is not in contact with the model, then you need to flatten it out before it goes on. Okay, and what I'll do there is you just get a little strip, or not a strip, little section of the bit you rolled out to a little sausage. Okay. And you just gently roll, yeah, so like a rolling pin. So you get that, you create that flat shape, but actually before you attach it, and then it's just a case of carefully unpeeling it from what you just rolled. So I've got a long flat area now. Just tease it back into shape a little bit, like so. Oh, snuff off camera, there we go. And that would then, let's go with my little pick tool. So pick that up, just apply it where you want it to sit, like so. And then you you take the other end where it's going to attach to, and find out where you want it to sit, just like that. And you can, once it's in place, lose that excess. And there you go. Okay, you can pull that down, make it look like gravity's moved it a little bit. So that's basic reins. Now I don't want this particular style on this horse. I want Radagast to be a little bit different. So I'm going to take all that off and basically recycle it back into my little sausage. Okay, so all I'm doing is just rolling this out nice and thin, almost as thin as I can go, really. This little bit I'll just put back on. Try and get it all similar thickness all the way along. Right. And what I'm trying to do now is, if I do here's one I made earlier. I kind of want it to look like a twisted vine, or almost rope-like. And the simplest way to do that is to just take a piece, fold it in half, right, and then just gently twist. Oh. Okay, you can see it start to take on that little rope-like appearance. The trick is to try and get the twist uniform the entire length. Okay, the more you twist, the thinner it's going to get, obviously. Like so. So you end up with something like that. Excuse me. And then it's just a case of just adding it to the horse. So the difference with this is we don't want to squash it down onto the horse once we wrap it around, which is the tricky part. So if I try and attach it underneath, oh, come on, it's quite cold here today, which is why the green stuff is not being very cooperative in terms of tackiness. It's quite firm. So then, like the nose band, there'll be another bit that runs around the jawline of the horse, Okay, and then another piece that goes behind the ears, over the head, and joins up to the front part. So I'm just going to go ahead and add those in. I'll speed it up because it's all the same principle as what I've just done there. Right, okay, so that's the head harness done. I just need to add the reins now, going from the nose up to the hand. Right, so I've cut a piece about 1 inch long. I'm just going to attach it there to that join. And that's going to go up to where Radagast's thumb and forefinger are. Come on. Just in there like that. And then we'll just tease that down to a more natural point. Okay. Right, so we do the same the other side. Just sort of push that in, get that anchored in. And then we can bring this up. It's a little bit long, this bit, but if we cut it off about there. And you want that going into the same place as the other side. Okay, and again you can bring that down. So it looks a little bit more naturally the way it's flowing. Alright, so it looks as though the reins are going into where his hand and his forefinger and thumb rather, though he's holding the reins. Okay, and to help with that illusion, we'll get another bit of putty, and what we want to do is try and make a loop. So this has already been twisted. Come on. Okay, so I'll make like a small loop, and then what we want to do with this is quite fiddly. Right, pick it up, and it's got to go into the back side of the hand, as though you kind of need to. I'll use this little hook tool just to poke it in and then pull it up on the back of that hand. Okay, so it looks as though the reins are originating from the head harness here, going up into the front of the hand and out of the back, and that's the loop of the reins. I'm just going to tack that on to the horse slightly, just so when we come to the next stage it gives me something to work on a little bit easier. Alright, and that's so that's like a more of a ropey texture on the rein system that we're using. Again, you can leave it like that if you're happy with that. Like I say, it looks like he's just thrown a rope over there. which is fine. Right, so with that all done now, you want to go and let that cure, let it set hard, so it provides a nice base for us to add our leaves in the next section. Okay, so let that completely cure. Alright, so for the leaves, I've gone back to my trusty mix of green stuff and Magic Sculpt. I forgot to mention actually on the previous section with the reins, I just used pure green stuff on its own because I wanted them to be a little more firm. Yeah. Adding the Magic Sculpt in makes the putty a lot softer, but I wanted the reins to be a lot firmer. So we're going to do a similar thing, just going to roll it out. Actually, I don't need that much to begin with. One side. Yeah, so this needs to go out quite thin. Oh. Okay. Try that again. Right, so probably looking just under 1 millimetre in thickness. Okay, and then all we're going to be doing is chopping this up into little sections. Just give them a little roll. Like so on. And we're just going to make lots of these little egg-shaped balls. I don't know if you can see that. Let's zoom in a bit more. So, where are we? Yeah. So, cut, roll, like so on, and that's it. That's all we're going to be doing, and we need lots of these because they're going to be our leaves. Alright, and then all it is, it's just a case of picking them up gently. Let's get rid of that one for a second. There we can focus. Get a focus camera. Go on. Maybe if we zoom out a bit. There we go. And we just kind of push it on and drag it over the part of the reins just to get it out here, and then we just put a little line in. That's there. And that's pretty much it. It's fairly leaf shaped. So pick up another one. Do the same, but on the opposite side. Okay. And don't worry if it doesn't come out right. Yeah, it looks a bit squashed. I mean, that one's not. That one's a bit naff. Just take it off, roll it up, and start again. This autofocus is playing up. Okay, like so. And then it's just a tedious case of just keep adding them in. Okay. It's a little bit more tricky on the floating parts of the reins, but exactly the same principle. Just stick them on, drag it down. Now I'm going to go ahead and add a load more, and then gently cover the whole thing. And you want some either side. If we look at that other one I've done. Okay, so on this one I alternate either side as it's going up and down, but you get quite a nice effect. So I'm just going to go ahead and add all those in. You don't need to watch me do all of them. It's pretty self-explanatory. We'll come back and have a look how we got on. Okay, and there we have it. So it takes a little while, need a little patience, but I hope you'll agree that it looks pretty cool once it's done. Groovy. So here's Radagast, all that green stuff set. So now what I want to do now is, as this sits on the base like so, okay, it's still kind of in a runny pose, which is fine. I mean, that works as it is, but what I want to try and do is make it look as though he's jumping over this log, you know, like kind of like a show jumping, you know, where they jump over the fences. So it's going to look like sort of this. So it's just going to require, I mean, it is a little bit of a fudge because you don't get the legs quite perfect, but you can get them looking good enough for the look that you want to achieve. Alright, so we're going to have a go at bending some metal. So if we get that one back again, so look. So what we need to do is bend this rear one needs to come forwards. Right, so if we start off with that one, okay, so I've got a pair of long nose pliers. Now these have quite sharp edges, so unfortunately I'm going to damage the model as I do this, but it doesn't matter because anything we do, we can fix. I mean, you can get round nose pliers, which may be a little bit less destructive, I suppose. So all I'm going to do is grab hold of that back thigh, and I'm going to try and bend it or twist it forwards. So it's going a little bit. Now the higher up the leg you can do this, the more realistic it's going to be. Okay, not too bad. Yeah, so you can see I've got a little indentation where the pliers have gone into the metal, but that doesn't matter because we can patch that up with a bit of green stuff. We're going to have to straighten this foot up if we can. Come on. So let's get in there. And now, to compensate for that, we can try and bend this leg back a little bit, but not too much, because if you put too much of a curve on it, it's going to look a bit bendy. Like so. Right, now we're trying to get these rear feet to kind of line up a little bit. Let's see if we can untwist that a fraction. Okay. Doesn't matter if you don't get them quite right. I mean, that's not far off. I'll see if I can get that a little bit straighter. Okay, I think that might work. Yeah, so imagine when that peg's in the base, it's going to look like that. Right. So, as you can see, they're not quite perfectly aligned, but we can certainly get away with that, I think, without too much scrutiny. So that's the rear. This leg's fine, this front left leg, and what we want to do is kind of match that with the right leg. Okay, so we're going to have to try and bend this at the knee. So just grab it at that knee joint, and I'm just going to twist gently forwards. Yeah. And just do it a little bit at a time. If you try and bend it in one go really quickly, you're just going to shear the metal, which can happen. Obviously we don't want to do that if we can help it. Because if it does, we're going to have to try and repair it, either with a pin or resculpting a foot, which I don't particularly want to do at this stage. Okay, now you don't have to bend it right back like that one. Don't worry too much about that. You can just, if we can get that foot around a little bit, that might work slightly better. And there you go. We could get this foot slightly further around, but I'm going to show you something we can do to tidy that up in a second. Right, so there's our pose, our jumpy pose already. What we can do now is just go with a file, and anywhere where we've got teeth marks from the pliers, we can just file away a little bit of that, so that if we need to add some putty, it's going to be quite minimal. Okay. So there you go. That's that. All I'm going to do now is just put a little bit of green stuff, just to hide those teeth marks. Right, so now it's just a case of patching up all those little indentations. I've had a go already on this leg. You can see on the underside I've got a little nook there, so just get a little bit of putty for the problem area, and it's just a case of working that in. And then what I like to do is switch out to my clay shaper, just because you can really get some good pressure on there, and smooth it out into the surrounding area, like so. Okay. A little bit on this front shin where we bent it earlier. Also, what I like to do is where we've overextended that joint, is I like to go back in and redefine the kneecap. So a little bit of putty on the front of the knee there, and then you can work it in. So I'll redefine that knee joint. I'm just going to have a little bit, a fraction more. Because I want to recreate that kind of knobbly knee effect that the horses have. Like so. Alright. There's a little cut there, but I'm going to leave that for now, because what I'm going to do is give this horse some socks. Now, I mean, that's perfectly fine. If you're happy with where we are now, go with it. Alright, but what I'm going to do now is, here's one we did a little bit earlier. Gotta be careful. Right. So we're kind of giving it like those hairy or shaggy socks that you sometimes see on ponies or Shire horses. Now what that does, it helps make the horse look quite unique. Alright, it strengthens the leg area slightly, and also hides any of those indentations that you got from bending the metal earlier. Right, so I'm just going to show you quickly how we do that. So I've got a bit of putty which I have kind of thinned out flat. It's probably about 4 mil wide, and I'm going to want to cut about, I'm guessing 6 mil off. Alright, now next bit, you just kind of wrap that just underneath the knee joint. Oh, crikey. There we go. Around the shin. And so it joins up at the back. I can get these little hairs, I don't even know where they're coming from. They're like a fabric. Anyway, so once you've got it fully wrapped, work it in. You want it nice and thin at the top. Careful. Just splodge that kneecap we just sculpted. Anyway. And then what we want to do is drag lines in to recreate a fur effect. So, and because it's a dynamic horse, we're going to have rather than having the hair just hanging straight down, we want it to kind of flip up to the rear of the shin. So we're kind of dragging lines in, flick it up. The front's not too bad, they can go straight down, but again just kind of put a curve in like so. Alright, how's that coming out? Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. You can have a little pattern at the front if you choose to. And then the inside's a little bit trickier to get to, but it's just a case of take your time and just flick your tool around to get to the areas that are a little more tricky. Alright, just give that a little bit more of a flick. You're kind of pulling the putty away, you know, sort of that action. And it almost like tears it a little bit, which normally you wouldn't want, but in this instance, that's a time when you might. Okay. There you go. So that is one hairy sock, I suppose. Yeah. And I'm going to go ahead and just do the other three, which will be very similar, and then we'll come back and see how we're looking. Right, so here's the finished model. You can see I've done all four legs with those the long hair on the socks, and I've added some sand and gravel that's covered up that that seam between the original base and the cavalry base. Going to work quite nicely. You can see he's kind of leaping over that log now, which is exactly what I wanted. And yeah, there you go. Radagast on a horse. I think what I'll do is I'll go and slap a bit of paint on and see how it comes out. So as you can see, you've got 3 completed Radagasts. They'll all be going off to their respective customers shortly. And I hope you think they look okay, and that you found the tutorial helpful. At least here's the one that I painted up. This is from my own collection. I've painted this one, so this is not a shadow paint job, as you can probably tell. Mine's a little bit more tabletop standard. I don't have the patience for painting like I do sculpting. It's weird, but I just like to get it done and ready for battle top. But hopefully, I mean, that's you know, it's an adequate paint job. You know, I've got a little glow effect on the staff, so it looks like he's winding up for some sort of spell. I've put various grass tufts and flowers and clump foliage on the base, just to make it a little bit more like a densely forested area that he's running through. And you can see that leaping pose looks quite nice now. You can barely see the log, actually. Went to all that trouble putting it on there, and it's sort of kind of hidden in all the foliage, but it is there. So what do you think? I hope you like it. I'm happy with how it came out, and he will go into my painted collection, which is not that numerous, but I'm working on it. Still, there you go. Hopefully you got something out of it, and with a bit of effort, you can achieve the same thing by following the tutorial. Okay, thanks for watching.